Everybody, to the November 1st meeting of the Temple Terrace City Council. It's November already. Where did this happen? How did we get to November already?
Time flies when you're having fun.
It must. So I'd like to remind everybody to please silence your electronic devices, and if you would, please stand for the invocation and the pledge. Lord, as we gather tonight, we're reminded of all we have to be grateful for. We thank you for your continued blessings upon our community. We thank you for our wonderful and dedicated employees, our citizens, business owners, and the volunteers who contribute so much to our city. Most importantly, we thank you for the freedom we enjoy, including the right to choose our elected representatives. We ask you to bless our country during this election season. May we not let our most fundamental freedom as Americans become a source of division among us. Bless all of our candidates and elected officials, and grant us the grace to resolve our differences and work together for the common good of all. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we have a couple of proclamations to do. These are the most fun part of the meeting, so we get this done early and get this out of the way, right? So the first one is a proclamation for World Polio Month, and we have Nick Hall, president of the Temple Terrace Rotary Club here, I believe. Mr. Hall, would you like to approach the podium, please? Good evening, sir. Thanks for being with us tonight.
Well, thank you for the proclamation.
You're very welcome. So the proclamation reads, whereas Rotary is a global network of neighbors, friends, leaders, and problem solvers who unite and take action to create lasting change in communities across the globe. The Rotary motto, service above self, inspires members to provide humanitarian service, follow high ethical standards, and promote goodwill and peace in the world. And whereas in 1985, Rotary launched Polio Plus, and in 1988, they helped establish the Global Polio Eradication Initiative, which today includes the World Health Organization, U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, UNICEF, the Bill and Miranda Gates Foundation, Gavi, and the Vaccine Alliance to immunize children of the world against polio. And whereas polio cases have dropped by 99.9% since 1988, the world stands on the threshold of eradicating this disease. To date, Rotary has contributed more than $2.2 billion and countless volunteer hours to protecting nearly 3 billion children in 122 countries. These efforts are providing much needed operational support, medical staff, laboratory equipment, and educational materials for health workers and parents. Now, therefore, I, Andrew Ross, along with my colleagues, by virtue of the authority vested in me as the mayor of the city of Temple Terrace, Florida, do hereby proclaim the month of October as World Polio Month. So, Mr. Hall, would you like to say a few words?
Well, thank you very much for helping this important, and I might add, the signature project of Rotary International, increasing awareness of the need to keep fighting away, even though the disease has almost been eradicated. So thank you very much, you and City Council members, for approving this.
Thank you. And I'll give you your proclamation. We'll have a quick
A
picture.
photo to prove it.
Next, we have a proclamation for National Veterans Small Business Week. Is Christopher Odgers here? Oh, welcome. Legal counsel for Dinsmore and Scholl LLP, who serves as the Legislative Affairs Chairman for the Greater Tampa Bay chapter of the Florida Association of Veteran-Owned Businesses. Good evening, sir. Thanks for being with us tonight. This proclamation reads, whereas Hillsborough County is home to more than 92,000 veterans and more than 11,500 veteran-owned businesses generating more than $5.5 billion in annual sales. Whereas less than 1/2% of the U.S. population served our country in the armed forces, yet veteran-owned businesses represent 9% of all U.S. businesses. And the Florida Association of Veteran-Owned Businesses is a nonprofit entity that advocates, educates, and connects our veteran-owned businesses to economic opportunity. There are over 400 veteran-owned businesses and patriotic supporter businesses in 5 chapters across the state of Florida. National Veteran Small Business Week is dedicated to supporting veteran entrepreneurs and business owners and their families, and to encourage people to purchase goods and services from these hardworking men and women. Florida veterans and their families deserve our unwavering support and gratitude. I, Andrew Ross, along with my colleagues, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Temple Terrace, Florida, do hereby proclaim October 31st through November 4th, 2022 as Veterans Small Business Week. So thank you, sir. Would you like to say a few words?
Yes, I would just like to thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council, for approving this proclamation, and I encourage everybody to go out and support local veteran-owned businesses. If you visit FAVOP's website, favob.net, there is a directory of veteran-owned businesses that you can search for businesses in your area.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Rogge. Before I bring the proclamation down, I know we have a number of veterans in the gallery. If you're a veteran, would you please stand up so we can recognize you? Good, thank you. Thanks for being with us. So one last thing I'd like to, I guess I'm just going to say it, I'd like to brag about, if it's okay, is the City of Temple Terrace received an award the other day from the Hillsborough County Planning Commission, and we're very proud of the award. And I'd like to read, it's long, but I'll make it as quick as I can, but I'd like to read for you what they read in front of all of our colleagues and government officials and everybody at the awards ceremony the other day. And this is why we got the award. It says, the City of Temple Terrace is committed to bringing art to public spaces, and in recent years has been proactive in forging relationships with community organizations, local artists, and others to make this possible. In 2019, the city partnered with the Temple Terrace Arts Council, 2 of members are sitting here, to embark on taking art to the streets, which entailed the painting of a street mural at the intersection of Inverness and Glenarvan Avenues. Designed by a local artist, the project was funded by grants as well as the city and contributions by private citizens. More than 100 resident volunteers assisted in the painting. Not only beautiful, the art contributes to traffic calming in the area. In 2020, the city again partnered with the Arts Council to commission murals to be installed on the walls at the intersections of Bush Boulevard and 56th Street and River Hills Drive and 56th Street. The murals were created by 8 different professional artists and pay homage to both the city's beauty and its unique history. The work was partially funded by 2 of Hillsborough County's Community Arts Impact Grants. The Bush Boulevard intersection has an overarching theme of moments in time, and the walls celebrate the city's history with a timeline of influential people in the city's past. A look at the old Florida scenic vistas that still exist along the Hillsborough River, a nod to the golf course, around which the city was built, and a celebration of the many events that take place throughout the year. The River Hills intersection depicts the breathtaking flora and fauna that can be found along the Hillsborough River, including a lotus flower and many species of trees. 56th Street also has been decorated with beautiful banners, colorful banners. Thanks to our marketing director for having a big part of that. Welcoming drivers to the city with a collage of oranges, golfers, and river views. Now in its second year, this banner program is made possible through a collaboration with GCI Inc., which seeks local businesses to sponsor the banners. City facilities have been used as canvases for local artists in the past several years, as well with themed murals adorning the walls of the aquatics area and the fitness center at the Family Recreation Complex. Additional murals capturing Temple Terrace's majestic shoreline views are located behind the service desk of the Temple Terrace Public Library and in a meeting room at Omar K. Lightfoot Center. This past spring, the city partnered with the Florida Chalks Artists Association to host the city's first Chalk Festival, held in conjunction with the Temple Terrace Garden Club's Spring Market. Most recent addition to the public art in the city is a beautiful bronze sculpture of a law enforcement canine Aramis, who served with the Temple Terrace Police Department. The sculpture is right outside in the parking lot on this side of the building, is a focal point of a new memorial to law enforcement canines, which was dedicated in July at Temple Terrace City Hall, the site of the police department, and made possible through a collaboration with the West Side chapter of the Nam Knights Motorcycle Club. It is a regional canine memorial. We're the only one in the area to have it, so we're very proud of that. So all of these things taken together culminated in us receiving the Executive Director's Award presented to the City of Temple Terrace Public Art in the City, which we will prominently display somewhere. Outside, okay. So anyway, we're very proud to receive that, and I'm sorry to make you sit through that 2 minutes, but it's something that we're all very proud of and work very hard to achieve. So, and I think it's important that we do celebrate our successes as much as we talk about problems all the time during council meetings, but we have a lot of successes too. So,
May I have a comment?
you certainly may.
The Arts Council will be a focus point at the public library for the whole month of November. Would you like for us to display the art, the award in our display?
Fine with me. We'll have to ask the city manager.
We promised to give it back. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.
He can't say no when you put it like that. Very good. Well, thank you for indulging me, folks. Next up is a arts festival presentation. It segues perfectly, right? Temple Terrace Arts Council member Nancy Hudson is here to present. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Ross. That was a very nice segue. The Arts Council does do a lot of things in Temple Terrace, and I'm a very proud member for many years. My name's Nancy Hudson, and I'm very excited today to tell you a little bit more about the Arts Festival that is coming, of course, back to Temple Terrace again on November 9th and, November 12th and the 13th. And it's a free event, of course, and free parking. We have 120 crafters, fine artists, and culinary artists coming this year. The team has worked really hard. We're a very small but very mighty group, and we've worked very hard to make a great festival again this year. It's free, I think that already. And let's see, there's entertainment, and we're very, very thankful for all of our sponsors, of course, for all the council support and all the community support, and we very much hope that we'll see you all there. I think James has a fabulous sign.
Yeah. Brian. Yo, Brian.
Brian, can you
Brian, we
highlight
really need
Councilmember
this on.
Chambers?
Does anyone have any questions about the festival?
I do, but I'm waiting until we get this
The
sign
shameless
issue
plug.
resolved.
I have one job, and it's the sign. Okay.
Very good, and you did the one job very well, thank you. So Nancy, I know we also recognize our veterans during the arts because it's right in conjunction with Veterans Day, and that is Saturday at 11, is it?
30.
11:30? And I know we have a very distinguished keynote speaker here, so I would encourage all of our veterans and their families, friends, if your neighbor's a veteran, please pass the word. It's 11:30 Saturday morning, right, at Woodmont. We will have some seating, so if there's anybody who doesn't feel like they can stand for the whole time, but we have a very distinguished speaker, and we'd really like to recognize our veterans, so thank you very much. Thank you, Nancy. Next, Temple Terrace Golf and Country Club is here. Mr. Boss, president, is here to present to us. Welcome, Mr. Boss. You're no stranger to this room, are you?
No, I'm not. Good evening, Mayor Ross, City Council members, City Manager, City Attorney, and City Clerk. Thank you for giving us the opportunity here to present. I know it's been quite a while since we've been here. That's due to some changeover we had. I'm the new president right now until at least May of next year when we'll have elections again. We have a new board of directors, and we have a new GM who I'll announce in a minute because we were going through a search process just as the city was for the city manager. A couple of things I'd like to talk about is one of them mainly is the tree issue with the city of Temple Terrace and the Golf and Country Club. Last year, under the old board and directions of our other GM and president, the city worked cooperatively with the club to go ahead and eliminate a bunch of trees that unfortunately had died because of drought and other disease issues. One of the discussions at the time was the impact of a potential hurricane, so it was fairly prescient to get this done because it could have presented significantly more damage to neighbors and areas around if these dead trees were left up. In conjunction with that, the city has worked fairly cooperatively in a great manner with the city in replanting those trees, along with some of the members who have volunteered trees they've grown from the city arbor program that they've grown in their backyard. So we have started in phase one, because we like to phase it over time because the trees take a little bit of time to grow and they need care when they're planted. So we've planted 37 trees, which are on holes 1, 2, 3, 9, and 18 right now. We worked with the city arborist, we worked with our Greens Committee, and we worked with our club advisor, professional golfer Gary Koch, who helps us with our redesigns and areas to plant trees so that they benefit the course the most and present the best visual aspect for the people who see the trees. The kind of trees we have planted, we have cedar, red cedar trees, tabiabua trees, which look great twice a year. The rest of the time they're kind of plain. Bottlebrush trees, magnolias, and a live oak. We have remaining to plant some 45 pines, 10 live oaks, bald cypress trees, more tabiabua trees, and more magnolias. So that's 103 trees plus 34 lollolly pines that have been donated by some members of the club and a couple magnolia trees. So we're looking to make these the best they can look for the people looking by, while they don't impact the golf course by creating roots that grow underneath green areas or tee boxes or shade issues that create damage for the future. The other issue that we worked cooperatively with the city on was the irrigation project. As some may know, there were some issues with our sprinkler heads that were a default from the company. Right now, the Toro is beginning the process of replacing those heads. Like the city and everybody else, there are supply chain issues. So we're at about 20 a month that they can get in to replace. But that project's moving along to get to full completion. We, along with following the Arts Festival that weekend, will be having our 100-year gala. I've dropped off an invitation for our city manager to be our guest at the gala to attend and celebrate with us. It will be on the 12th. We plan to have a full evening of events and fun for everybody. There's a nice sign up on number 10, or you can go to the city website or the club website, sorry, used to working at the city here, to go ahead and make reservations for. We have about 100 right now, and we have 2 weeks for that event on the 12th. In the process, we've hired a new chef. His name is John Duffy. He had worked for 20 years as a proprietor at Outback. He has experience in the kitchen, ordering, food inventory, and all the general stuff I don't know anything about except for cooking a nice egg in the morning. Our search also got us a new city manager, Mr. John Harbison, who is sitting down over here. I'm going to ask John if he can come up and just introduce himself to everybody and tell him about himself and what the club is doing. We've got a great junior program and a great head pro who was awarded West Coast Assistant Pro of the Year last year. So we have a lot of things that are moving forward with a younger group of people who are helping to bring the club forward into the future, working cooperatively with the city. And I'll let John introduce himself and give him a little background, and if you have any questions, then I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Boss.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here. I met some of you before. I've been here about 30 days. I'm so excited to be here. For those of you who don't know me, my name is John Harbison. I'm the new general manager at Temple Terrace Golf and Country Club. I'm a life member of the PGA of America, and I'm also a member of the Club Managers Association of America. I've been in the golf country club business for about 35 years officially. Doesn't count all the time I worked as a child or a kid. My dad, my mom, and my dad and my brother, we all owned the golf courses. I grew up in the golf business, so spent a lot of years probably. I guess the statute of limitations probably run out on that child labor laws, but I'm so excited to be here. I've been very fortunate to be a general manager of some very unique properties. I've been most recently I was the general manager at Harmony Golf Preserve in the town of Harmony, over 192 going out past Lake Nona, and so I was there for the last 5 years. And I almost came to this position back in 2009. Actually, I was in West Palm Beach and was interviewed for the job here and got connected to it, and just wasn't able to make it work out. It didn't have anything to do with Temple Terrace. And I almost wish, I told someone the other day, I really wish I'd have made that move back then, because everybody's been so nice and so warm, and I just really touched by it. So I'm excited. The greatest thing I get to do is I get to come to work with really good people. And we've got a great staff of folks that just love serving our members and our guests, and they make it fun. I'm getting to know them, and they're getting to know me, but they've been wonderful. And we're just really excited about the future. I mean, it's not every club that gets to celebrate a 100-year anniversary. And I'm hoping to lay the foundation for the next 100 years here. We've got a great team, as I said. We've got a great chef. He hand makes everything, so the food's really good, almost too good, and for some of us. But our staff is just so warm. They know all the members' names. It's all the things you dream about as a private club general manager. You really want your staff to be engaged, interact with the membership. And so as we move forward, the golf course has gotten better almost each week I've been here now, and I've been involved with it, even from the time I interviewed. It's just night and day. And so Doug's doing a great job. Kyle's done an excellent job in the golf department, and Mr. Boss mentioned Richard and Brandon. We just have a great team of people. So I'm so excited to be here. And please call on me if you see me at the club. Any comments, I always want to hear them. And I just can't wait to serve you in the community.
Welcome to Temple Terrace.
Thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
Questions for Mr. Boss? Okay.
Thank you very much. Have a great evening. Just to turn this on quicker, we're going to get done in 3 minutes because I know everybody has a lot of business.
Thanks for coming by.
Thank you very much.
We
Have a great
appreciate
evening.
seeing you once in a while.
Look to see everybody at Election Day down at the voting places.
Good, thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, has everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes of our October 18 meeting?
Move to approve.
I second that.
Motion and a second. Is there discussion, corrections to the minutes? If none, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Any nays? Minutes are approved. So, ladies and gentlemen, now's a spot. If your business here is done, nobody wants to get up in a meeting and walk out. And I understand that, but you're not compelled to stay. So there, we got the first one. So I just want to let you know that it's okay if your portion of the meeting is done and you don't want to sit through all the business. It's okay to leave when you're ready to leave, okay? So next are persons wishing to be heard on items not listed on the agenda or items on the consent agenda. We do have a 30-minute time limit for all public comment at this portion of the meeting. I don't think we're going to exceed that, but I don't know how many of you might want to come up. So if we get to 30 minutes, we will stop the public portion, move on with our agenda to finish our business, and then at the end of our business, we will resume public comment. So there is a 3-minute time limit imposed on all comments from the public, so we have room for 10 people without having to put it off. We ask that speakers come to the podium, state your name and city of residence, and we like to assure everybody that your public comments are important to us. Your elected officials pay attention to them and follow up. The city manager, the staff here, we do take your comments seriously. So I do have a couple of requests to speak, and please bear with me if I mispronounce your name. Lisa Villable? I got it. Good. Welcome, ma'am.
Oh, you're cooperating.
Good evening.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. Mr. Public Speaking. My name is Lisa Villable, and I just wanted to say I love all the new developments we're having up there with the new stores and so on. And they had put in the fountain, which I thought was lovely, but I've noticed that we shut it off, and we're growing. There's mosquitoes and other things growing in there. And I can tell you from my background is somewhat medical, and I was thinking mosquitoes are a definite health hazard, and if there was something that we need to do done about that. Now, I think I understand that the reason that the fountain was turned off is the homeless was using it. Unfortunately, I retired out of the VA hospital, James A. Haley. We had trouble with the homeless on the ground floor. How I personally dealt with it is just kept on their case and said, hey, I just chased them out of there. And there was types of people that just down on the luck, and there's people that just totally given up. So I was thinking, but my main issue was that I was thinking that what a health hazard that was, all those, because I was just walking through, I walk everywhere. It's good exercise, And I was just looking there, and today I saw tadpoles in there. And I thought, a frog is not going to lay her eggs in a place where there's no food. So we know that there are, mosquito larvae in there. And I was saying, it was such a beautiful fountain. It's a shame it has to be turned off. If there's some way that maybe I wouldn't presume to say how that you're on there and how the council would do things, but I would like to, like I said, have a guard over there and say, hey, okay. That is just one thing. Another thing that I've always wanted is that I live right across the street from here. You go back and forth. If you want to ride the bus to go this way, you take your life in your hands crossing that street. What would be the feasibility of having a crossing light? That's back to oh my God, 20 seconds left. Okay, that's it. Okay, that's all I wanted to say, sir. And I just looking at that, I said this could be such, like I thought, could do something about the fountain. That'd really be great.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you for all the trouble you made to come tonight.
Next speaker, and the fountain's coming back, by the way. The fountain's coming back. The next speaker is, again, is it Taria? Taria Shaw? Tavia. I'm sorry, I thought it was an R. Tavia Shaw. Well, welcome, Ms. Shaw.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor. I'm Tavia Shaw. I'm representing Terrace Community Middle School, and my city of residence is Brandon, Florida. My name is Tavia Shaw. I'm the principal at Terrace Community Middle School, and tonight I am here to publicly invite the residents of Temple Terrace to the 10th running of the Trot Through the Terrace. The Trout of the Terrace has long run in the city of Temple Terrace. It is a 5K, 10K, 1 mile, pet-friendly, fun run and walk. It's through the beautiful streets of Temple Terrace at Riverview Park. This race is a chipped, timed race, so it's a premier race for our area. The participants run through the residential golf course, renowned for its beautiful oak trees and canopies. The course is mostly flat and has become a favorite of local runners. And the race will begin on Saturday, popular Saturday, November 12th at 8 o'clock a.m. So before you do all of your wonderful festivities with the Arts Council and at the Temple Terrace Golf Club, come down and run on our race, Trout to the Terrace. It will start and finish at River Hills Park near the boat ramp. The Terrace Community Middle School is very proud to host this run. Again, it's the 10th running of this beautiful race. I did bring a poster since it's going to be on television so everybody can see. And if you would like to register, you can register at runsignup.com, Temple Terrace, Trout to the Terrace. And I would like to invite all of you to attend. Bring all of your family and friends who like to run. It is a very community and fun event for the community as well as benefiting the students at Terrace Community Middle School. I do want to thank our sponsors. Our title sponsor is Ward Mitchell, who supports so many events and activities in the city of Temple Terrace, and they are graciously supporting Terrace Community Middle School with this race, as well as the city of Temple Terrace is a sponsor, ProCopy, and Republic Bank. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Shaw.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Next is David Welsh. Good evening, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Vice Mayor, council members. My name is David Welsh. I live in Temple Terrace in the Temple Hills community. Mine's more of like a suggestion of what we need to do to update some of our ordinances. So I recently put up a shed, and I thought I was in compliance with the ordinance. Had our ordinance officer come by and let me know that where it's at, it's considered the side of the yard, not the back of the yard. Nothing major. We ended up moving it. But if you were to go around my community within a mile walk where I usually walk my dog, you can easily see 13 violations of this code that's been violated for many years. Now, I do not want my neighbors to be fined for it. I don't want them to have to move the sheds because many of them are elderly. Many of them are probably on a fixed pension. Because of that, I would recommend that we would actually just change the code, if possible, to where the rear of the building would be anything that's past the front of the primary structure. If we did this, this would correct a lot of issues. For me, just walking around my neighborhood 1 mile and seeing 13 infractions, I can only imagine how many more there might be. Now, I did reach out to Mr. Baroni, let him know this issue, because I was kind of curious why it was being enforced to me, and I can literally look across the street and my neighbor had the exact same setup. Again, I don't want to get my neighbors in trouble. That's probably been there for 2 years. Now, this code's been out since 2001. So my recommendation is to take a look at that code, because if it's not being forced equally, either remove it or update it to where people can comply to it very easily. Because if somebody puts up a shed like I did, and they're looking at their neighbors, and they're like, okay, well, I'm 5 feet away from property line, I'm 3 feet away from the primary structure, it's behind the front of my house like many of my neighbors, I must be in compliance. And then to find out you're not, it was kind of a kick to the gut, I guess you can say, because then we had to take it down, move it to the rear, which I'm in compliance now. I will say that. I am in compliance right now. So I'm really doing this for my neighbors because Mr. Brony's aware of it. I think he's already contacted a couple of my neighbors that were across the street that were in violation, and I don't want to have them have to take it down when it's already been up for like 2, 3, 4 years, even though the code came out in 2001. And that's really all I got right there. I think I have it on the paper right there. The code is for Article 6, Section 12-508, accessory uses in buildings or structures. So if you could, please take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next is Kelly Benjamin. Good night, ladies. Welcome, Mr. Benjamin.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council. Thank you for the opportunity. Do I need to put this?
No, that's a light.
It's a
We're gonna take
trick.
that off.
I know, last time I was
Yeah.
talking in this, and you probably all thought I was an idiot. I just have two quick issues I wanted to raise. First one is, we had a great Halloween here in Temple Terrace yesterday. If you've ever seen the movie E.T., where they go out trick-or-treating throughout, and they take E.T. and they put a sheet on him, that's what my street looks like on Halloween. And it was really wonderful to see so many kids out and people decorating their houses. But as to the issue that I brought to this council before, there's no sidewalk on my street. And there are cars going way too fast with children in that street. And I just wanted to bring that to your attention again, that this is a health and safety issue on my block. There's cars that, they don't park and drive. They have their kids and they just drive until they see a house giving out candy. And it was kind of a dangerous situation. So I would appreciate if we could, in any way possible, that this council can expedite that process. And I know it's a long process and there's a lot of things, but it is a safety issue. And I saw a couple of very dangerous situations yesterday with children who are out having a good time trick-or-treating. And I think it's important to please just move this along as quickly as possible for all of our neighborhood. The other issue, I contacted a couple of you on this issue with respect to the side pool ordinance that is on the books, I think, from the 1980s, which I submitted a request for a variance to the variance board, and let me tell you, it was a bit of a process to get that approved. And after having an hour-long meeting with City Planner Gus Carpus and the city arborist, they recommended changes that I could make to my plan that would give me a better chance to get this pool approved. And then I was surprised at the last variance board meeting to have the city recommend declining again. Thankfully, the variance board saw differently and they approved the request, but it took a lot of time. And I've also sat and saw many other people come in front of the board for the same request. Nobody in my immediate surroundings, nobody in my community is against having that pool there. It's this unique situation with my property where the house is sitting on the lot. It's actually not visible at all from the street whatsoever, but it was a real pain in the butt. And it cost me $500 extra, and the designer of the pool had to redesign it like 3 times. He's really mad at me now. So if there's any way to readdress that, and I think the board voted at the last meeting to bring this back to the council. And so I'd love to find out how long that process takes and what the process is, because there was a couple caveats attached to my particular approval of that variance. And I just wanted to also raise that issue and see if there was a possibility of having a discussion on that. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Benjamin. And about 3 agenda items from now, we're going to pass a resolution for the sidewalk. So I don't know how much more expedited. It's about 15 minutes. Is that good? Okay. Are there other members of the public who wish to address the council at this time? Okay, seeing none. Consent agenda. There's a resolution approving the purchase of playground equipment from Top Line Recreation. Is there a motion?
Consent agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify with aye. Aye. Any opposed? No nays. Resolution is adopted. Next item is a resolution approving extending the interlocal agreement with Safe and Sound Hillsborough. Freddie Barton, Executive Director of Safe and Sound Hillsborough, is here. Well, is he? Yes, he is. I didn't see you back there. Good evening, Mr. Barton. We could slide the podium to the back for you. Thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Apologize for moving a little slow.
That's all right.
Fortunately, I was in a hit-and-run motorcycle accident.
Ooh.
I know that I'm grateful to be alive, and my wife is grateful for me to no longer have a motorcycle. So,
Hopefully my wife is not watching.
I had an accident 20 years ago, so I told my wife, well, if we keep this record, I'm good for another 20 years.
Yeah.
Let's go that way. First, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to come before you once again to explain Safe and Sound Hillsborough, our efforts in the past, present, and some of the things that we're doing in the future. And then also to thank you for giving us one of the most precious gems in the world in the form of Police Chief Ken Albano, who serves as our vice chair, as our guiding force, that angel on our shoulder that says, make sure that we keep the most important thing at the forefront, which are our kids. For some of you that don't know, Safe and Sound Hillsborough initially began as a think tank to address community violence after the shooting in Newtown, Connecticut. When we saw the shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary, we wanted to come together as a community to figure out what can we do to make sure that Hillsborough County will never be an epicenter of a mass shooting or incident of trauma. And after a year or two of having multiple forums and multiple conversations, we realized that we can't predict the random shooter. We can't predict certain things. That's why they're called random. But what we can do is look at what causes a person to get there in the first place. What causes a person to feel that there is nothing left in their life other than to cause harm upon himself, herself, or someone else, and to treat community violence as a public health crisis that it is. And over the last several years, the City of Temple Terrace has been a contributing partner to our interlocal agreement. We provide services all throughout Hillsborough County to do three main things. One, to make sure that youth feel safe in our community. Two, that we make sure that we foster and develop relationships between community members and members of law enforcement. And three, that we make sure that youth and families know that there is a positive pathway out of the issues that they face. Over the last year and a half, Safe and Sound has really been immersed in working with our youth that are involved in our juvenile justice system. We have youth from Temple Terrace. We have youth from Sassa, from West Chase, from West Tampa, from East Tampa, from North Tampa, all the way down to Ruskin, Waimama. What that tells us is that community violence, gun violence in particular, is not a one neighborhood issue. It affects us all. And we've worked with Greco Middle. We've worked with several schools in this area. We've worked with citizens and stakeholders in the Temple Terrace area to make sure that we hear what's needed in order to keep kids actively engaged when they're not in school. And if he or she makes a mistake and enters into our juvenile justice system, that we provide supports for them and their families so that they can quickly move on with their lives and no longer be bound by the mistake. And we tell our children and our families that you are not your mistake. You are the amalgamation of the movements that you've made beyond that mistake. And I want to thank this city. I want to thank this council. I want to thank Temple Terrace Police Department. I want to thank the Boys and Girls Club. I want to thank our faith-based partners for helping us continue our efforts. We've worked over the last 2 years with our Evening Reporting Center, which serves as an alternative to confinement for juvenile offenders. Our recidivism rate is hovering a little under 19% for youth exiting our 21-day program within 60 days. That's half of the recidivism rate in the state of Florida, which shows us that as long as we give our youth something to do when they're not in school, give them a positive environment, give them a mentor that cares, and give them the resources needed in order for them to move beyond grade promotion, to get employment, or to move to another phase of their life, it works. Our numbers show for themselves. We have seen a double-digit reduction in the number of offenses. Now, we cannot talk about our accolades without talking about our challenges. From January 1 of 2022 to May 31st of 2022, we have seen a 100% increase in all of the gun-related incidents than all of 2021. We know that gun violence is an issue in our community. Freddie can't split himself in two. Right now in the city of Tampa, there's a violent crime forum being held. And to talk about the efforts that are being done in the city of Tampa to address it, Hillsborough County tasked Safe and Sound Hillsborough to come up with a gun violence prevention initiative, a pilot initiative to begin October 1 of this year. Temple Terrace is part of that plan. We want to make sure that we get to our kids as early as possible. We want to make sure that we talk about the consequences of choices. We want to make sure that we provide lock boxes, gun safes, and more importantly, education to our parents. And we want to make sure that those who are causing harm no longer do so in our communities. And so I ask on behalf of our Leadership Council, which is chaired by our Public Defender, Julianne Holt, and vice chaired by our own police chief here, Ken Albano, and all of the interlocal agencies, that the city of Temple Terrace continue support, not just in funding, but in in-kind resources and your voices as advocates against community violence to help us in our efforts, because together the village can win. And I'll be more than happy to answer any question that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Barton. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, council members, questions?
I have a question.
Go, Councilmember Donahue.
Are you actively seeking donations from community groups, or are you fully funded by government agencies?
Oh no, we've got all the money in the world. No, so no, we are severely underfunded. We are severely underfunded for the work that we do. We do have an interlocal agreement. All of our interlocal agencies provide funding support. However, we do write our own grants. We do solicit private contributions. We have partnerships with our sports teams and other entities. What we like to do is we like to ask organizations, tell us what you would like to do. If you want to get in front of kids, I'll put you in front of kids and tell me what we need to do to make it happen and what resources you can provide. We are always looking for volunteers. We have youth that come through our reporting center, which is right near the fairgrounds, not too far from here. And they come every day, and what these young men need are mentors. They need people in their lives. Unfortunately, I am in court at juvenile detention hearings every day. I'm in juvenile detention hearings on Christmas Day. Worse than that, I'm in juvenile detention hearings the day after Christmas. That means that kids were arrested the day before, on Christmas Day. And we put them in our center, and we work with them, and we pour into them and show them that you have value, you have importance, and you have the ability to make change happen. And then that young person has to go to court. And sometimes they don't go with a parent. And there are many reasons for that. What I wish that I could accomplish in this next year, because Mr. Freddie and his staff can't go to every single court hearing. I wish I could have an army of volunteers and mentors that would stand up and show up with these young men to speak on their behalf in front of our juvenile judges to say that this young person made a mistake. They are not the combination of their mistakes. They are what they can do in the future. And we stand committed. So my plea to the Temple Terrace community and Hillsborough County in general is, if you really are invested and you want to see change happen in the lives of our youth, please contact Safe and Sound Hillsborough. We have the opportunities, we have the heart for it, we have the passion, and we have the initial support of our interlocal agencies. So yes, the answer to your question is we are always looking for more help and more
Thank
support.
you. So noted.
Mr. Barton, I have a question. So I'm sure you do, but can you talk to us a little bit about ways that you collaborate with the Urban League? I'm sure you know Stanley Gray over at the Urban League.
Absolutely. Stanley Gray is a longtime friend.
So Stanley and I were just having a conversation last week about juvenile recidivism rates and opportunities. So how do you guys collaborate?
There are two great equalizers of life. That's employment and that's education. And the Urban League is focusing on providing workforce opportunities for our youth. One of our principal components of our reporting center and our mentoring initiatives is career and job readiness. So when we get youth in our center, the first thing we talk about is, what are you going to do either after school or during school to keep you busy and get you some type of funding in your pocket. We partner with the Urban League to identify employers that are willing to hire our youth. Now, we also know in the wake of COVID, this has presented several challenges with trying to get qualified candidates for employment opportunities. I myself struggling to staff our reporting center and staff some of the positions that we have. Public service announcement and quick advertisement. We are hiring 3 individuals to work for Safe and Sound Hillsborough. If you have a community-minded spirit, please contact us at safeandsoundhillsborough.org. But we are working with Stanley, we are working with Career Source, we are working with our Boys and Girls Club to identify, 1, employment opportunities, but 2, get these young people focused and ready to understand what does it mean to have a job and to keep a job. And so Stanley and I have talked numerous times, and we're trying to figure out the best way to go about it.
Okay. Other questions, council members? Mr. Barton, thank you so much.
Thank you so
for
much.
what you do every day.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to extend the interlocal agreement with Safe and Sound Hillsborough?
I so move.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion? All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No nays. Resolution is adopted. Thank you, Mr. Barton,
Thank you all.
and I'm sure we'll be in touch.
Yes, sir.
Next, Mr. Benjamin's still here. He's going to hear this. So, resolution approving a task work order to C&T Contracting Services LLC for the construction of Ferncliff Avenue Sidewalk Phase 1. Our city engineer, Brian McCarthy, is here to explain.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council, Brian McCarthy, City Engineer. And today I'm here seeking approval for the task work order to C&T Contracting Services for the Ferncliff Avenue Sidewalk Construction Phase 1. Before we get into the project itself, I just wanted to recap on how we got here. Back in February of this year, residents approached City Council regarding the aggressive driving behavior that was occurring along Ferncliff Avenue and requested a sidewalk. So in March, city staff began sidewalk design with our consultant team. And in October of this year, we finalized what the construction plans was going to look like. So throughout this process, staff mailed out letters twice asking for feedback from the property owners. The first letter was just more of a introduction to the project on why we're doing this. And the second one was closer towards the end of the project, just letting them know on how the sidewalk is going to look in front of their property along the public right-of-way. While in design, staff noticed that there was going to be a construction conflict with the St. Augustine Live Oak Water Main Replacement Phase 3. And so staff, understanding the sense of urgency from both the community as well as City Council, we decided to split the project into 2 phases to avoid any further delays. On the map, kind of shows the limits of the construction. Within the purple lines is going to be your existing sidewalk that's out there within the southern portion of the city. And the red dash line is the proposed project along Ferncliff Avenue. So phase 1 is going to be the western side. That's going to be from River Hills to South Glenarvan Avenue. And phase 2 is going to be the eastern side from South Glenarvan Avenue to Biltmore Park. The total length is roughly 2,500 linear feet of sidewalk. The first phase is about 1,800 linear feet of sidewalk. Construction includes clearing and grubbing, sidewalk, driveway apron replacements, as other miscellaneous items. If council approves tonight, we spoke to our contractor earlier this week, and the soonest they could begin is going to be in December. And it would take approximately 4 weeks to complete. And that's, again, barring any major supply chain issues with concrete. That said, staff recommends City Council approve the expenditure of $226,690.20 to C&T Contracting Services for the Ferncliff Avenue Sidewalk Phase 1. Thank you for your time, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Mr. Benjamin?
Thank you.
Yeah, you have to, well, if you're going to say thank you, you can do it from there, but if you, oh, okay,
I'll just say one thing.
okay. You have to state your name for the record. We know who you are, but you have to.
Kelly Benjamin, I'll keep it very brief. This is greatly appreciated, and speaking on behalf of a number of families with children that walk to school at River Hills Elementary daily, as well as what I just mentioned, some of the issues with the speeding during events that we had. All the kids yesterday, they were in the streets, and there were still issues with that. So I really appreciate council taking this issue and everyone who worked to address this. I'm texting everyone who was involved in this fight right now, so thank you very much. Am I to understand that it's going to be completed in 4 weeks, starting in December, phase 1? Is that correct? Wow, so by January of 2023, end of January, we'll have a sidewalk?
Well, you said that now, but
I just
let's keep
clarifying
in
that.
mind that we still are a government, so
Yeah.
there's always opportunity for hiccups or what, but that's the plan.
That's great, so that's phase 1, and then phase 2 will be when?
Phase 2 is depending upon when council would like to add that to the budgets, and also kind of dependent upon when phase 3 of the St. Augustine Water Main project gets completed.
Thank you very much.
Council members, oh, are there other members of the public who wish to comment? If not, council member questions? I do have a question. Actually, one of them was kind of answered. I was going to ask about phase 2, the timetable. So that's still to be determined?
Yes.
Okay.
Depend upon when phase 3 is completed for the water main project. And then we'll probably add that to next year's fiscal year budget.
Okay, that was my next question. Is it going to be in this fiscal year? Probably not.
Probably not in this fiscal year.
Okay, all right. So my other question is, are we doing any outreach to the community to tell, because they're not all going to be watching this. So what's going to happen is we're going to do this and we're going to stop at Glenarvan and everybody's going to go, oh my God, they didn't build the whole thing, right? And so is there any kind of outreach to let them know this is phase 1, phase 2's coming?
We can send out an additional mailer, yes.
Yeah, that would probably be a good idea because people are going to see the construction and assume that we're not going to build it past that. That's what normal people would assume. So, Mr. B.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, what we'll also do is get it to our PIO and make sure we push it out on social media and the website as well.
Okay, because that would be the normal reaction is, oh, they're stopping there. We want them to build it all the way over here. So, okay. God, I had one more. Oh, no, never mind. Okay. All right, other questions, council members? If not, is there a motion to approve the resolution?
I would like to approve the motion to make the motion to approve the sidewalk construction on Ferncliff Phase 1 as soon as it can be done. And I do have a comment afterwards, but.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion, Vice Mayor?
I did have a comment. I just wanted to applaud staff. I remember when the residents came in February and staff jumped right on it and they got everything done that they needed to get done, and it just shows that we can do these things, council, that we can do it when we need to. We recognized an issue with the residents and safety, and I'm just glad to be a part of the whole operation for that. So thank you very much. Good job.
Other discussion? I do have a quick comment along the same lines for those watching, and that is, this is an example of when this was citizen-driven. The people came here and they complained to the council and they said, oh, you're probably not going to do anything, and this is what's going on, but we did do something. And so this was not on our capital improvement plan. This was completely citizen-driven. So the council, I'm proud to say, I'm not feathering our own nest here, but I'm kind of proud to say that the council did respond. And so when I say at the beginning that we listened to the citizens, that doesn't mean that everybody always gets what they want, but it does mean that we listen. And in addition to this new sidewalk project and other new sidewalk projects that we have scheduled, we also, in this fiscal year, increased the amount of funding for sidewalk maintenance for existing sidewalks by 500%. Because we know we have a lot of sidewalks throughout the city that are heaving from tree roots and stuff like that and trip hazards. So we are listening to your priorities. So next time you hear somebody in public say, oh, they don't listen, and you tell them, well, yeah, they built a sidewalk. They do listen sometimes.
May not happen overnight, but we can.
But I'll tell you, 8 months, that's lightning speed for government, folks. I mean, that's, so that's pretty good. Councilmember Donahue.
I want to add to that. When you hear home rule is being worked, the legislators are working around it and they're stopping that. That's what home rule is, that we can take care of situations in our own cities and our own neighborhoods. And so, if somebody says, well, we can do it better in Tallahassee, you're like, well, how are you going to fix that sidewalk on Ferncliff? That's really what it all boils down to. So kudos to everybody, and it did not fall on deaf ears that this came to us in February of '22. That's record speed. Thank you so much to your department. It was just amazing what everybody did to pull this together. So, and thank you for bringing this to our attention. And I will say that when the citizens came, they came prepared. They came, they were very polite, very organized, gave us, stated their issue, and we were definitely paying attention, so.
Okay. All those in favor of the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No nays. Thank you, Mr. McCartney. Next is a resolution approving subdivision plat application SP 22-02 for the plat of 15.07 acres of real property addressed as 8802 Industrial Drive. Our senior planner, Gus Carpus, is here to explain.
Good evening. I like coming up after Brian because I don't cost you money. I cost you a lot of money. So what you have before you tonight is a plat for a piece of property that we have had before us before. It's in light industrial. So it's a property that is just north of the bypass canal. And it was originally part of the dairy property. And when we brought it in, we had to rezone it and we had to subdivide it. They did it during a meets and bounds in December. So what they're coming now is to actually plat the property to meet the meets and bounds description. So if you look at the site, it's pretty basic there. Currently, they are constructing a 175,000 square foot retail or warehouse center on the site. And this is kind of the last step to get it all in line with the platting and all that, other good stuff here. So here's the plat. This is something that has come into us, and we were working on it for a number of months. And so it's just, again, just following the meets and bounds description that was approved by the county in December. And so again, the staff is recommending approval for this site to meet what's already there for the plan we've already approved. And I guess I have, I don't see the applicant here, so I'm here to answer any questions. Oh, you are? Okay, I didn't see you, I'm sorry. So I'm here to answer any questions, and the applicant's also here. Again, this is a piece of property that we approved the site plan, and this plat is to meet the meets and bounds description that was already submitted to the county.
Thank you, Mr. Carpus. Are there members of the, I'll call on you after, are there members of the public who wish to comment on this? Okay. The applicant, would you like to say anything, sir?
We appreciate.
You have to come up here. They can't hear you or see you if you don't speak near the microphone.
All right, well, thank you. I'm Michael Ozapov. I'm an engineer with Half and Associates. We represent the applicant on this job. And I just wanted to express our appreciation for working with the city and, bringing this piece of property to fruition and, moving forward with the planning of it. So I'm glad to answer any questions you might have, but I just really wanted to say thank you. We appreciate all the hard work the city's given us on this.
Well, we're very happy to have your new building coming into the city, so thank you. I have a question for Gus.
Yes, sir.
I'm a little confused, I guess, about what it is. We're platting it and.
It's already been described meets and bounds, but we're requiring a plat because the meets and bounds we didn't approve. So the plat is what we want. So we're going to have another project coming in front of us that did kind of the same thing, where they're going to come and plat the property after the fact. So it was done by meets and bounds and then conveyed to the property owner and then developed. But this is kind of the last step.
Okay, so platting doesn't necessarily mean dividing it into different lots, or, I mean, this is all one big plat, right?
Yes, this is one big piece of property. They should have done this step before, but they did it as a meets and bounds with the county, which is something that avoids us going through the approval process. But now they're following up and actually doing what they need to do with the plat itself.
Okay, other questions?
I do.
Councilmember
Yes.
Donahue.
I drove out there to see if I could find it, and of course, I couldn't, because it's not there yet, right? So the road is now a dead end on Industrial Drive, is that correct?
Yes, it
And-
should be there.
okay.
You guys are building.
Yeah, I mean, the building is built.
Well, this has been a while.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't last
Yes,
week or
Yes,
anything.
back, yeah.
Yeah.
And,
So my question is that the only entrance and exit? There will be no others, like, there won't be anyone going into the neighborhood adjacent, and you won't be coming out onto the dairy?
correct. And actually, these roads are county roads. They're not city roads.
Right, but it's a road that's your access, correct? Okay.
The plot thickens.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
That was my only question.
Other questions, council members? If not, is there a motion to approve the resolution?
I move to approve the resolution.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No nays. Resolution is adopted. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Gus. Next item is a public hearing and second reading of Ordinance 1539, amending Chapter 2 of the Code of Ordinances Firefighter Pension and Retirement. Fire Chief and Firefighter Pension Chairman Ian Kemp is here to explain. I will open the public hearing.
Honorable Mayor, City Council, Ian Kemp, your Fire Chief. As was discussed 2 weeks ago, this at time is a public hearing and second reading of Ordinance 1539, amending Chapter 2 of the Code and Ordinances of the Firefighter Pension and Retirement Plan. Currently, members of the fire department who are in the drop or wish to go in the drop are prohibited from becoming trustees of the Temple Terrace Fire Retirement System. The ordinance change would allow current members and those seeking to be on the board of the fire department who are members of the pension plan that are in their drop to hold the position of pension board trustee. The Temple Terrace Fire Pension Board has formally approved this change at their August 11th, 2022 board meeting. At this time, it is recommended that the City Council adopt Ordinance 1539 on the second reading, removing the exclusion that drop employees are ineligible to be trustees of the Temple Terrace Fire Retirement System.
Thank you, Chief. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, I will ask the council members, do you have any questions of the Fire Chief? None, I'll close the public hearing and ask the clerk to read the title of the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Temple Terrace, Chapter 2, Administration and Elections, Article 3, Offices and Employees, Division 3, Pensions and Retirement, amending Subdivision 4, Firefighters, Section 2-200, Board of Trustees, providing for codification, repealing all ordinances conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there a motion to approve the ordinance on second reading?
Move to approve the,
Go ahead.
okay, move to approve the second reading of ordinance 1539.
I'll second that.
Motion and second. Discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No nays. Ordinance is passed on second reading. Thank you, Chief. Next, Centennial logos and slogan. We have Vice Chair Nancy Hudson is here in her capacity as Vice Chair of the Centennial Celebration Committee.
Thank you
Welcome
very
back.
much. Yeah, thanks again. So we do have a committee that's been working on putting together a plan for the overall celebration that the city will have for the centennial in 2025. We have had several meetings, including creating a timeline and starting to generate ideas of how to make this the best celebration it can be for the city. One of our tasks was to create that slogan and a logo, which we have, with the help of Lori Hayes and Julie Almeida, we have come up with two different logos that we'd like to share with you today. And we hope that you will pick one so that we can keep moving forward. And also a slogan that we've selected, which is a century of history and a year of celebration, that we would like to add as the tagline for that logo. So we'd love to share these with you if you have any comments or questions. But again, these are our recommendations, and we'd really love to have a decision tonight if there's one that you prefer over the other, so we can keep moving forward.
And Brian, these are being broadcast for people at home to see on television? Okay, good. So we have two council members, and I think,
Is this the accurate color scheme? I thought it was yellow. What, can we see that just for a second? Is it orange?
It's
Okay.
just designed to be.
Okay, it just doesn't, all right, that's fine, it's
It looks yellow.
not really orange on here. I
so
wanted to
it
make
could
sure
be,
it's real.
what color would it be?
Well, this would be the one color logo, would be the orange.
Okay,
It would be orange.
yeah, this looks red on this screen, that's all. That's the only reason I asked that.
Okay, so that would be it would be orange then.
Right.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay, so let's start to some discussion.
All right,
Who wants to start?
I'll start.
Okay.
I prefer the first one because in looking at the,
Left or right?
I'll say, yeah, sorry, the one that says 100 that has the orange embedded in the 0 and has the tree and the gazebo and all the others. So the busiest one, so the one on the left. The other one, because it's a single color, first time I looked at it, it looked like a man's pipe. And that's all I can see now. I can't see anything else. I realize that that's our tower, but if you don't live here, you don't know what that is. And so, sorry, now that I put that vision into your head, you're probably going to see that too. But the other one really includes so many of the things that longtime residents have seen for years. That tree is an iconic tree for us. The oranges, even the fireworks are thrown in there, and the tower is in there, but it looks like what it is, which is a tower. So if you're ready to be persuaded, that's my opinion. If you're not, go for it.
Councilmember Abel.
I have a friend who's a graphic designer, and one time we were discussing artists' mindset versus designer's mindset, and she said that if you criticize an artist, the artist will take it personally, but if you criticize a designer, they're like, okay, well, I can make a change there. And I hope that's the case, because I do like the one that Councilmember Donahue pointed out better. And I like that it has so many things that are reflective of Temple Terrace. I do have some suggestions for it, and I don't want things to get too complicated, but is that something that we're open to hearing right now, is the suggestions? Okay. So I see there's 2 golfers on here. One of them's before the 1, and the other one is in the 0. And I like having 1 golfer, but I don't know how I feel about having 2 golfers. And the other thing is, I like that there's a tree, but the way that the tree is positioned, it kind of looks like an atom bomb. So
We have such discerning eyes.
I see that.
I mean, I don't want,
I think I recognize it because I know the tree, but you're right.
I mean, I didn't see the pipe until you, sorry. But anyway, I'm really pleased with the work that you all have done, and I know that it's really hard to get a logo, and I'm sure you all had your conversations, and they were probably, a lot as well, so that's just my feedback.
Nobody saw the atom bomb or the pipe. So good.
And now you can't unsee
Now you can't unsee it.
Now we can't unsee them, but yes.
Vice Mayor?
I'm not sure where the fireworks are, but,
You're in the second 0 at the top.
huh?
Second 0 at the top.
I thought that was palm.
I thought that was palm
I thought it was palm trees.
It
Well,
could
what-
be that too.
Palm trees, it
What,
could be fireworks.
okay, what, first of all, I have no creativity. I can make stuff, but I can't, so this is all wonderful. And if Julie was involved, I know it was. I don't know what that is in the first 0 in the lower left-hand corner of the 0. What is that?
Pelican.
Kayaking.
Kayaking.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay, all right, I see that now. Okay, and then, is that palm trees or fireworks coming out the side of the second 0? Whichever you want. Pardon me? Whatever you want, okay.
Which do you like better?
Okay, and the stars, I thought, I could have seen that was the fireworks.
That's what made me think that was fireworks, because of the stars.
Okay.
Yeah.
Technically fireworks, but palm tree works.
Okay, I like the one the traditional one. The other looked like a 7 at first, but I like the 0. Yeah, I like the orange inside the other 0. But I too like the first one, the one on the left with the traditional 100 and at first it was looking like a Hawaiian shirt that I was looking at. But
Florida.
now that I see see what the different pieces are, it makes a little more sense.
Nancy, are you starting to understand why we appointed you?
Yes.
Well, we went through all of this as well, so, we can certainly make some of those tweaks, like we can definitely maybe replace that golfer with the tree so that the tree is all in one position so that you can tell that that's what it is. If we generally like the one that shows more iconic images, I think we could take another swipe at that with some of these suggestions and bring some.
Councilmember Chambers?
Yeah, same thing. I prefer the one on the left that everybody else seems to prefer. I thought they were palm trees, mainly because I remember our old seal, and the old seal had the river, it had an alligator, it had palm trees in the old seal, so that's where I thought we were going. It took me a while to figure out that that's not a wheel, but that's an orange up on the first 0. But that's okay too. But anyway, I prefer that one. And I didn't see I saw the tree, not the bomb.
Oh, I saw a tree.
But I saw a butterfly. Does that count for something? No.
Not that kind of game.
He's just happy it's in one color.
Vice Mayor had another comment.
Nancy,
Yes.
on the, next to the golfer in the 0.
Yes?
Okay, in the next 0, what is that on the edge? I can't tell.
No, in this one.
Oh, it's a golf, is that a golf ball? What?
That little piece.
Oh, it's a golf ball, big golf ball. Okay, all right, cool, thank you, thank you.
I am not the guy to ask about this. This is not my forte. Originally, I was gonna say I liked the one on the right because it's simpler, and I thought the one on the left was too busy, but I will happily defer to people who are probably much better at this than me. And I did think the one on the right, the one looks more like a 7. And if you don't know it's 100, I'm not sure it jumps out that it's a 100, whereas the one on the left, it's pretty clearly a 100.
If we were to switch out those ones and take out the images in the number 1 on the left and move it to the other more simple one, would that change anyone's mind? Or you really like the variety of icons that are embedded?
These 4 are in agreement that they like the one on the left. Don't listen to, don't let me mess this up.
Mayor?
Yes.
It could sway me with the different one and the orange on the second 0, but the tower and the river, that image doesn't really work for that one. So if you could change something on that.
I did just want to point out that because these are drafts and we didn't know which one we were going with, they will be tweaked somewhat because obviously we're, using different art to represent the icons. So first of all, they're going to be better quality, but they might be slightly different. So I don't want anybody to be surprised when that happens.
I have a question for you, Laura. I guess I could ask Nancy either one, but either one of these really, but the one on the left predominantly, I don't know what we're going to use this on, but if you smoosh that down any smaller than that, you're not going to be able to see any of that stuff that we like. You can't squoze that down to a small thing on a piece of paper. Yeah, that's a technical term. They understand that. But I'm concerned, do I need to be concerned about that? Because I know we've had talk about this not being able to compress that beyond a certain, and now this looks far more complex than, yes.
I was just going to say, I didn't think about squozing because I didn't know that word, but I think that's a really good point. And I'll
work with you on these technical phrases.
Thank you. It really helps. But I like the one on the right as well, but I agree with some of the feedback you've gotten about the river and the one, the shape of the one.
Yeah.
But
we will be able to shrink it down. I'm going to use another term.
It'll work.
Again, when we switch out the art, it's going to be crisper and the outlines will be thicker. That being said, we can also tweak the tower, and, I mean, we can make it less pipe-like.
You just put a line.
I don't think you
separate
need the
roof.
tower there, to be honest with you. To me, you have so many other things that everyone recognized right away, that if, there must be something else you can put in the middle and just take that image out altogether on the right side and put one of the iconic pieces, you
I
know.
like the tower.
I like the
That is
tower.
Well,
kind
but
of
then it doesn't look like a tower with the river
Well,
next to it.
Look, we're just overthinking
We
this.
are.
Just go with the one
Well-
on the left and take the second golfer out, move the tree around so it doesn't look like a nuclear bomb, and we're good.
And we're good. Yeah. I mean, this is the closest any of us thought we were going to get
You're
tonight.
not gonna get a committee to say, well, wait a minute, what about, I mean, we need to just
Okay,
pick the one on the left and
okay.
see what they can do.
Do you need a motion on that?
Remember, a camel was a horse built by a committee.
Exactly.
We can do this very well for you.
I don't think we,
They know what we want. They know what you
this
want.
is just giving them direction.
They want our approval, so we have to make sure
Well,
that we give
do.
that.
We're all five nodding our heads, this is
Yeah.
approval.
Okay, all right.
So, it's on the record.
Clear as
If
mud.
I complain later on that you can't disclose it,
And we will take your recommendation, and I would like to share, we have a meeting again this week. I'd like to take your notes back to them and discuss with the committee one more time to make sure. I personally like the one on the right. I think it's more readable. I think it's more simple. I think we could fix the one. So I would like to, I heard what you said, but if we decide to make you a better one or two more better ones, we may come back next month and show you again.
That's perfect. That's why we shouldn't vote. You're right.
That's great. So you guys go back and have some further discussion with, now that you've talked to artistic people.
But we're not done. We also have a slogan. How do you feel
Wait a
about the
second, can I tell you
slogan?
one more thing?
Wait, one more thing, Vice
If
Mayor.
you can put a line, separate the tower and the river, it'll look two distinct things. Put the other one inside. Looks like a 7. It's just
Yeah, the other one
something like
definitely.
that. It might be more
I
usable.
mean, we could absolutely represent the water in a different way.
Yeah.
But let them,
You guys are the pros.
yeah, they've gotten good feedback from, or they've
Yeah,
gotten
no,
feedback.
the feedback was awesome because we've looked at it a lot, so we're getting jaded in what we see and what we don't see. So the notes that we got were great, and we'll discuss, and maybe if everyone really feels strongly that that's the one, we'll make those tweaks and we'll go, or we'll come back with even better ideas.
Okay. So the slogan, a century of history, a year of celebration. I like it.
I love it.
I did too.
Short, sweet.
Good, great, thanks.
I like it.
There you go. We can do this.
And you can squish that as
If
small
we
as
can
you
build a
want, right?
sidewalk in a year, we can do this.
All right, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Hudson. Thank you, Lori.
Excellent.
New business and board reports. Councilmember Chambers.
Yes, and it was kind of brought up earlier about the sheds in the side yard, but at the last Board of Adjustment meeting, which was Thursday night, and I'm the liaison, but I was not there because I was at the King High School parade and event. But I understand the board voted to bring to us or have us look at the ordinance for swimming pools, and that was mentioned earlier tonight, swimming pools in the side yard. And I know that's on Mr. Sherman's list. I know he's been looking at ordinances, but I think the board wants us to maybe try to accelerate that or something. So that's all on that. But I know it's a topic that the Board of Adjustment took up on Thursday, last Thursday.
So I have a proposed course of action here. Let's see how this works for everybody. We've been working our way through ordinances, kind of one or two at a time as things come up, trying to make sure that we're up to date and that we're consistent with our surrounding governments, that we're not an outlier. And so I would think that it might be appropriate for us to ask the city manager and staff to look at, because this has come up before about accessory structures, particularly with the housing issue going on, to take a look at, I don't know if that's in the side pools, I don't know if that's in the same ordinance or if that's a separate one, but to take a look at these, have some talks, and Mr. Sherman probably has some better idea what's going on in the region, and make some recommendations or at least discussions for us once they've had a chance to look at this and say, well, we are kind of out of times with, our surrounding neighbor governments, or we're up to date on that, or And let's see what they come up with. Yep.
Something along the same line. We have some really bad houses in town. They're, some of them are nobody's fault. Queensway, that's an issue. Those are different circumstances. But we have some other houses that are just racking up huge penalties. And we can't do anything with it because homestead. And as much as I hate to say this, what's everybody else doing? What are other municipalities doing with this?
That's kind of a different.
No, I know, but this was my comment for board business, not tacking onto him. This is separate. If he hadn't brought that up, I was going to bring it up also. But, we have houses, and if any of us lived next door to those houses, we'd be screaming bloody murder. And the people who do live next to these houses are trying, and code's doing everything that they can to address the issue. They have huge penalties, okay? But beyond the penalty issue, they're ugly, they're bad, they're decrepit, there shouldn't people even be living in there. And I'm not asking for an answer tonight, but it's something that we need, I think, to look at moving forward, that we can come back and offer some help to our residents and so forth. And I think Mr. Sharon.
On some of these that have gone in front of Code Enforcement Board, and then, as you said, the lien is just growing, technically, every day is a new violation. So rather than sit and watch the fine increase, there is the possibility of citing them again for the same thing. And instead of going to Code Enforcement Board, take them in front of county court. Perhaps maybe going to court and letting the judge tell them, and find them guilty. That might make them do something. I know that there are other cities, though, some of these, as you said, it might be nobody's fault. Sometimes somebody is elderly, sometimes they're disabled, their income is low, they just can't clean up the property themselves. There are other towns that have, I know St. Pete had something called the N Team. And so they were a group of city employees, but their job was to sometimes get donations even from Home Depot or Lowe's and go out there, and the city itself would try to do some things on the outside. Also, there were different neighborhood associations, and if the city worked with the neighborhood association to identify a property. Now, the property owner had to be willing to do this, but it would be on a Saturday morning, and it would be volunteers from that neighborhood, and they would come. I personally participated in painting somebody's house, weeding their yard, raking up, and so there are a number of different things that the city can do along with volunteers.
I'd just like to see if we can move towards something of that nature so that, we have to be able to tell our residents, yeah, I know it's like that, they have a lot of fines and so forth, but then our hands are tied. I think we need to come up with some plan or proposal to help Mr. Barone and his people get everybody up to code, or get them up to compliance. And I'm not sure exactly how to do it, but I think we need to move in that direction.
Okay. Councilmember Abel, I really want to get back to the original discussion here at some point. Councilmember Abel.
I think in the past I've shared something from the Affordable Housing Board where they have a rehab and renovation type grant that you can apply for. And I've provided the information before, but I can look into it and see if we can provide it again, because that sounds like what you're talking about. But that's all I have to say about that.
Councilmember Donahue.
Yeah, when I first started on council, we were looking into rehabbing a house, and the problem was the grant provided to fix for one portion, but then when our code got in to look at the house, there were so many other pieces that it was a slippery slope. But I do have to give kudos to our code department, because they already have they have two groups that they call on. They call on the Temple Terrace area Democrats and the Rotary Club of Temple Terrace. And both of those groups, when called upon, go in with shovels, rakes, mowers. I mean, we found a house behind the landscape. At one point, it was so bad. Took us 2 days, but we cleaned up the entire yard. So I say they, I'm part of it, but they're two different groups. And so we've got that in place right now. Sometimes the groups will say to him, "Do you have anything?" And he says, "Well, it's beyond your scope." In other words, we can mow and do that, but we can't put on a new roof or something like that. So I completely agree that we need to be doing that. And we have deviated from your original question, but I think it needed to be known that the city, the code, they call us and say, "Hey, we don't want to keep adding on to these violations for these folks. They're handicapped, they're elderly, whatever the issue is." So I want to make sure everybody knows that our code guys are not heartless, that they are trying to solve the problem rather than exacerbate it. As to what you're saying, I definitely, one of the things I don't want us to do, I don't want to look around the neighborhood and say, "Oh, well, we're the only ones not allowing this," when we like not allowing that. Okay, like parking in the grass, cars all over the front of your house. There are some ordinances we don't want you to change, and when you bring them to us, we probably will say, "No, that makes us unique, and it keeps us looking as beautiful as we possibly can." But yes, you're right. The accessory building thing has been something that's been discussed year and year, and it's always coming up. I don't know about sheds, but I know all those little houses that are sitting in the back of so many of our beautiful historic homes and can't be used or can't be upgraded or what have you because of our rules. So I'm definitely in agreement with you and would like to see the city manager encourage staff to take a look and see what they can bring back.
Okay, so all I'm asking here, this all started with accessory structures and sheds. And so what I was proposing was not code enforcement, and it wasn't parking on the grass. It was just to have our city manager look at the ordinance pertaining to accessory structures to include outbuildings and sheds and those kinds of things. And I don't know if side pools, I guess it's probably in the same ordinance or close, so that too. Is that acceptable to everybody? Is that-
Yes, and side pools was the issue that the Board of Adjustment voted to send to us.
Okay, that's the first time I've heard that issue come up, so, and it could very well be that we're where we want to be, I don't know, but we need to look at, and it's good to look at these things once in a while anyway,
Yeah,
just to make sure that you're, is that okay with you? Good, okay. Still on new business and board reports. Any other new business and board reports? Okay, were you gonna mention the fall festival in your report, or is Mr. Langfield gonna? I don't wanna steal your thunder. I just wanted to thank everybody for all the terrific job at the fall festival.
I was.
It was wonderful. You guys always do a wonderful job. Our city employees always hit it out of the park. They never do an event that's not stellar. I mean, you never come back from a city event and go, "Well, it was okay," but I mean, you always go back from an event going, they outdid themselves again. So, Carl, thank you to you and your crew, and there's other departments that had a lot to do with that too, but I really, it's noticed and it's appreciated. I can't tell you the number of citizens that approached me during that event and said, "This is what makes Temple Terrace the best place in the world," right? So thank you. City Manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So in addition to thanking Carl and Leisure Services at Parks and Rec for the great work that they did, I also wanted to recognize the great walk with the mayor that was held on Saturday morning, and thank not only the mayor and the council members that showed up and the members of the community, but also thank our public information office and the marketing team. They were out there driving around with their camera gear and and taking a lot of great shots, as I'm sure we'll see great video footage of over the next several weeks. So I'd like to recognize them as well. Wanted to follow up on an item that was brought up at the last council meeting regarding the tenant bill of rights. So the city attorney and I have been looking at this issue. The city attorney shared with the entire council copies of the county's ordinance and the amended ordinance as well, so you have that. We had a meeting with the Hillsborough County Legal Department, their Code Enforcement Department, as well as their Consumer Affairs representatives just earlier this week, and seeking to find out what would be the best way to accomplish this should the council wish to adopt or direct us to do something regarding this matter. The simplest way, and they're very open to assisting us, the simplest way would be for the city, if you so wish, to send a letter to the Board of County Commissioners indicating that you would like the county to amend their existing ordinance, which encompasses this tenant bill of rights. They would amend it to include the city of Temple Terrace as part of their territory for enforcement, and that would allow the county offices to do the work that we just don't have the staff capability to perform at this point. If we were to go down that road, they anticipate it would be about a 6 to 8 week process going through the county commission's public hearing process. Since their program was adopted last year, one of the questions we had for them was, how many complaints have you received? And they've indicated in a year, basically, they've only gotten 25 complaints. And of those 25, not all of them were found to be valid. They weren't necessarily, valid issues that needed to be rectified. They've done a lot of education. They are also going online in terms of their part of their enforcement protocols and looking at, for example, landlord offers for leases and things like that to find language. If people say, hey, we won't lease to Section 8, stuff like that, that's some of the sweeps that they're doing about pretty regularly in that process. But they are amenable to doing this for us if we would like to pursue it. So I approach it for the City Council for your discussion this evening.
Council members, everybody had an opportunity to review the revised ordinance. Again, it's been a while since we had a chance to read it, so.
I missed the email. I did not see it. I don't know that I got it, so I don't know. I'll have to go back and look at it. I'm not prepared to discuss it at this moment. I apologize.
Well, it came out right after the last council meeting.
Almost immediately.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Well, I think our hiccup was enforcement, and this would solve that dilemma.
It would.
I mean, I'd like to see us move forward with writing that letter, and, we wouldn't be actually getting on board with that without further approval from council anyway, so I think that would allow Mr. Schisler to take the time to review it more in depth, if that's all right with.
Well, no, if I understand the process correctly, we would write the letter and that would be our approval. It would not come back to us. We would be asking the county commission
Bring us in.
to revise their ordinance to say that we are covered by it. Because currently it excludes the municipalities. So once we write the letter, we're pretty much done.
I don't want to leave you out, not knowing what the content of that is. How do you feel about moving forward, if you don't mind my asking?
I apologize for putting the council in this position. I just did not see the email with that in there. If it's obviously if the council wants to move forward with it, I'm not going to stop it. Okay. Can anybody give me a 30-second thumbnail of what the enforcement ramifications will be?
I bet Pam can.
Why don't we, I wanted to do this tonight, but I don't want to do it when the vice mayor hasn't had a chance to read it. I mean, we can give him an executive summary, but that's not the same as reading the.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that everybody know what it is we're voting for.
Do we have a deadline for the county? I'm sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
No, Vice Mayor, there's no deadline that I'm aware of at the county.
So,
We have a meeting in 2 weeks. Should we put it on the agenda?
we should probably put it on the agenda, I would imagine.
Yep.
Okay.
That's all I have.
That's it. City Attorney? All righty. Council members, any unfinished business? Directors, anything else? If there's nothing else, we will stand adjourned.
All right. Good meeting. Thank you.